people in America. How do we stand today? Our next show, we'll talk about that and the 1965 report which depicted the black woman as family matriarch, a superwoman, a pillar of strength. And we'll meet a black feminist who's angry about this stereotypical view of the black American woman. She says the image is false. We'll find out why on the next Donahue.
Donahue, Tuesday morning at 9 on 11 Together. The Joker's Wild, tonight at 7.
From North Carolina's News Center, this is Eyewitness News at 6 with Bob Hughes, Beverly Burke, Don Shea, and Cheryl Toney.
Good evening, I'm Beverly Burke.
I'm Bob Hughes. Well, we're obviously not in our familiar surroundings.
No, we are bringing you this newscast from the executive conference room in our studios.
Our top story on Eyewitness News at 6, a fire here at WTVD. This is the Eyewitness News set that you all have become so familiar with during the last 4 months. It was brand new. We were very proud of it. But last night it suffered some heavy damage, smoke. You can tell the heavy layer of soot here. Our lights that would light the studio when we come to you at 6 and 11 are gone. The cameras have been virtually destroyed. They're not workable now, not salvageable. And of course, firemen had to come through thick layers of smoke to get into the fire itself, which is often this other room, what we call our prop area. The heat was so intense in here that it melted plastic and metal objects. The fire, at least fire investigators theorize right now, apparently broke out right up in here on this wooden platform of our prop room. It buckled the walls of the building. Some of the metal girders were actually bent from the intense heat. Flame was shooting up through this hole in the roof right up in here. And Catherine Walters was here when the fire broke out in the early part of the evening. She was just on the other side of this wall. She's going to describe to us what happened.
I was sitting here in the newsroom putting the 11 o'clock show together when suddenly papers started flying all around the newsroom, and I thought to myself, what is going on around here? It honestly looked like a tornado was hitting us. So I got up to see where the wind was coming from when I saw a funnel of black smoke coming from the prop room, filling up the news set and coming toward the newsroom. So I looked at the photographer and I said, let's get out of here. The place is on fire. I never saw any flames, but the newsroom was filled with smoke within minutes, and soon the entire building was smothered. Everyone got out safely. The fire department came right away. The smoke was so intense that firemen couldn't enter the building. The difficulty in fighting the fire was coupled by the fact that the building is so secured, firemen couldn't get in the main garage door. All the garage doors are electrical, and the electricity was off. Firemen had to cut holes in the roof and the rear door in order to get to the fire. The fire burned the transmission line to the tower, which knocked us off the air around 7:15 during 60 minutes. It was around 10 o'clock before the fire was put out and the smoke cleared enough so we could enter the building. Most of the employees had heard about the fire and were at the station at that time. Everyone was helping out in whatever way possible, removing undamaged equipment, trying to save what was left. I know everyone was thinking, when can we get back on the air, and how can we put on the news show since so much was destroyed? From the looks of it all, we all knew we had a lot to do to get back together. Catherine Walters, Channel 11 Eyewitness News.
The cleanup job has begun, but it will be months before it's done. Those of you who have suffered through a fire know what isn't destroyed by the flames is heavily damaged by the smoke. And at a television station filled with miles and miles of cables and millions of dollars worth of highly sophisticated and sensitive equipment, the damage in dollars adds up quickly. Our chief engineer is estimating the damage at $2.5 million.
Since the sign-on this morning, we've been programming, of course, but we have lost the news studio and the main studio and the prop area of the building. This entire back section of the building, the structure is completely gone. The steel I-beams are bent, as you can see by looking up at them. The cameras, the studio cameras, are completely destroyed. All the lighting equipment in the studio is completely destroyed. The teleprompters, the news sets.
Fire investigators spent the day sifting through the rubble, checking out the possibility of arson. They used a special sensing device that sniffs out gasoline and other flammable liquids, but they didn't find any, and the cause of the fire is still unknown. A two-story firewall kept the blaze from what we call studio and master controls. These are the nerve centers of 11 Together. They were saved, and we will continue all regularly scheduled network programs. However, local programs, including the Peggy Mann Show, will be off the air for several weeks. That is, local programs except for the news. This is what the Eyewitness newsroom looked like this morning. The clock stopped last night at 7:15 when the fire broke out. The walls, desks, maps, and phones covered with soot.
But after working throughout the night, the newsroom had occupied every available space in this building. By 6 o'clock this morning, we have set up temporary edit stations, a temporary newsroom, and a temporary set. The show must go on, and it will go on. 11 Together General Manager Dick Appleton pretty much sums up how we all feel.
Really work together, long hours. We have dedicated people here at the station, and where we've taken a step backwards, we'll take 2 steps forwards right away. What I'm saying is we have excellent people here, and they're all going to pitch in, and we'll just pick up the pieces and make it right again.
Our engineers worked diligently throughout the night to get us back on the air. We might take a moment to salute Ed Wall, our chief engineer, and his engineering staff for a magnificent job. And area television stations, communication companies, public services all called us last night to offer their assistance.
There was yet another fire in Durham. Today, this one was at a house on Todd Street. The house was not occupied by the blaze. When the blaze broke out at mid-afternoon, authorities on the scene said that it was once rented by the Hells Angels motorcycle gang, but they were reportedly evicted about a month ago. By the time firemen arrived, flames and smoke were coming out of the attic of the house. Firemen declined at the time to speculate as to the cause of the blaze. There were other news, other fires tonight, like the revitalization of downtown Raleigh. We have that news coming up.
Now Delta Airlines flies 4 nonstops every day between Raleigh, Durham, and Atlanta. You can catch a Delta nonstop at 8 a.m. or 2 p.m. or 6 p.m. Or take our low-fare night coach nonstop at 10:15 p.m. for just $46. We're your new airline to Atlanta, and we want to make friends. So fly with the Delta professionals, and we'll give you a great trip. Delta is ready when you are.
Tonight, it was quite a fight. Now it's all behind. Got blue ribbon on my mind. I've got Pabst Blue Ribbon on my mind.
There are a lot of beers, but there's only one, Pabst. It's brewed to be the best, naturally, with no artificial ingredients, and you can taste it.
I've got Pabst Blue Ribbon on my mind.
This year, the Century 21 neighborhood professionals are giving thousands of hours to help handicapped people. You can help too. Give a part of yourself to Easter Seals.
One member of a Virginia rock band was shot to death last night at a Richmond, Virginia motel. From police accounts, it seems 29-year-old Ernest Owens of Raleigh was shot by a man who sexually assaulted a woman in the group and wounded another male member. Raleigh police are calling it a case of murder-suicide for a married couple. Sometime over the weekend, authorities say that Jesse James Tucker shot his wife and then turned the gun on himself. Both were shot in the head.
The city of Raleigh is moving ever closer to getting that much-heralded hotel on the downtown mall. There are some details to be worked out, but all appears to be go for the $17 million structure. Larry Stogner reports on why the hotel is considered absolutely vital for the downtown area.
Vitalize the downtown area began years ago when a great deal has been done. An attractive $2.7 million mall replaced Fayetteville Street. An $18 million civic center was built on the south end of the mall and is now attracting name entertainment and larger conventions. Because of all this activity, Transamerica Investments built this 21-story office building on the mall, and it's now the corporate headquarters for Carolina Power and Light Company. But that 360-room hotel, says city officials, would be the key that turns the lock.
Theoretically, it would work this way. A new hotel would allow the Civic Center to attract more entertainment and conventions. That would mean more people on the street in Raleigh at night, and that would trigger a demand for more restaurants and businesses. It would breathe new life into Raleigh after dark.
The hotel would go up at this site on the mall after these 2 buildings and adjoining parking deck came down.
The construction of a new 500-space parking deck for the hotel across Salisbury Street is the only potential stumbling block. Consultants say it would lose $70,000 the first year, and officials are looking for ways to cut that deficit at least in half. Developers, businessmen, and city officials are optimistic that the parking deck issue and other minor points can be worked out soon. Park Tower Development Group, meanwhile, is negotiating with Hyatt Regency, Radisson, and Marriott hotel chains, one of which may be named to manage the hotel. An announcement on that could also be coming soon. Larry Stogner, Channel 11 Eyewitness News in Raleigh.
Officials say that the hotel would add about $1.25 million to the city's tax base.
A $1.2 million study of toxic chemicals was announced by the Environmental Protection Agency and the Food and Drug Administration. The project will be conducted at EPA's research facility at Research Triangle Park. Marty Johnson has more.
Toxic chemicals used in industry have a way of finding their way into the general environment, and the EPA study is designed to find out what effect those chemicals have on the central nervous system. The study of toxic chemicals in the laboratory using rats and mice is nothing new at EPA, but this new research project is directed at developing special tests to see how these chemicals affect the nervous system. A dramatic example is the recent problem with ketone at a plant in Hopewell, Virginia. There, the effects of the chemical were obvious. People who worked in the plant showed severe neurological problems. In other cases, the damage may be much more subtle.
We have just hundreds of examples around the country of human beings being exposed to what we thought were chemicals contained in only the industrial environment. But we found, unfortunately, that that's not the case.
The studies with laboratory animals involve attaching electrodes to the brain. Using a computer, the researcher first determines the normal brain pattern. Then the rat or mice is exposed to a poisonous chemical, and the brain pattern is checked again. Any effect may be long-term, so tests on the mice will be repeated periodically. Also, their behavior will be evaluated at various ages to see if there are noticeable changes. The joint effort by EPA and the FDA will result in centralizing all the various federal studies on toxic chemicals at the Research Triangle Park. Marty Johnson, Channel 11 Eyewitness News.
PCB is not one of the chemicals involved in the study, but Dr. Gage says that it's still a good example of how industrial chemicals sometimes get into our environment.
Heavy rains are causing problems for families across North Carolina. Flooding is much of the trouble. Over 5 inches of rain have fallen over much of the state's mountain district. In Transylvania County, southwest of Asheville, almost 10 inches of rain has fallen. In Hendersonville, a house collapsed when its foundation crumbled beneath it. In another part of Transylvania County, near Roseman, about 15 families had to be evacuated from their homes yesterday when the French Broad River ran over its bank. All that water from the west, plus heavy rains moving across the state, has meant that rivers in our part of the state are past flood stage. The Neuse River is especially bad. It's already more than 9 feet above flood level at Goldsboro, and it's expected to crest there sometime tonight. Downriver at Kenston, the Neuse is at 20 feet. That's 6 feet above flood stage, and will probably crest there tonight also. Here in the Durham County Sheriff's Office reports no problems on the Eno River. That's good news, but let's check in with Cheryl to find out what all of this means for us in the Triangle. Cheryl?
Well, Bob, at least for the Triangle, we're not going to be having that severe of a problem because it looks like the rain will not be that much heavier in our area. We could get a shower or two yet tonight, but the system's been moving out. The main cause of concern now will be the eastern part of the state. We have a very slow-moving cold front that's going to be moving through the state tonight. The low pressure is centered over western Virginia right now, but we do have another low that's developing on this cold front that could move northward along the front and create some more heavy showers, particularly in the eastern part of the state tonight before all of this entire system moves off the coast. Now, the Triangle itself does not look like it's going to get that much heavy rain, although a thunder shower or a shower is still possible for the evening hours. And then later tonight, we could have some partial clearing. And by tomorrow, things will be clearing up a little bit more because high pressure will be moving in. And for the most part, later in the afternoon, we'll have some sunshine and temperatures around 60 degrees. It'll be a bit cooler than what it was over the weekend, but still kind of on the mild side. Not that extremely cold, except by tomorrow night, it could go down to the 30s, so it'll be a bit chillier. The next system we're watching is another cold front that's bringing some rain to the Pacific Northwest, and that could move our way, bring us a little bit of shower activity late Thursday night into Friday morning, but we'll be watching it to see exactly what happens. This will slowly be moving out tonight, and conditions will be slowly improving.
Temperatures across the nation today range from -10 at Gunnison, Colorado to 83 degrees at Palm Springs, California. And our high today in the Triangle reached 67 after the early morning low of 60. Currently, the relative humidity at 85%. The barometer is holding steady at 30.05 inches. Winds out of the southeast at 9 miles an hour. And here in the Triangle, we only recorded 27/100ths of an inch of rain compared with those 5 to 10 inches in the mountains. Our current temperature reading 65. That's 18 on the Celsius scale. Still kind of cloudy outdoors. Temperatures across the state range from 61 at Elizabeth City to 69 at Charlotte. Still some rain occurring along the coastal sections. The forecast for tonight calls for partial clearing, still a 40% chance of a shower, possibly a thunder shower. The low tonight will be near 48 degrees, winds out of the south, 6 to 12 miles an hour. Tomorrow, variably cloudy day with some sunshine appearing mainly in the afternoon. High near 62 tomorrow, and the low tomorrow night down to 38, a bit cooler. Winds out of the west, 6 to 12 miles an hour. Sunrise at 6:39 and set at 6:15. And the extended outlook for the next 5 days shows variably cloudy skies tomorrow. And then Wednesday looks like it's going to be mostly a sunny day with temperatures in the 60s. Thursday night starting to cloud up once again with some rain possible Thursday night into Friday morning. And then clearing late Friday maybe, making way for sunshine once again by Saturday. So maybe this Saturday we can expect some more sunshine moving our way.
That's certainly better than rain. Well, next on Eyewitness News, the fight in Springdale, and more news from Don.
Now that Fred's retired, we're living on a fixed income. It's good to know there are some stores where I can always save money. One of them is Repco. Their senior citizen plan saves me an extra 10% over and above their low discount prices on prescriptions and all Repco brand products. After raising 3 children, we're entitled to live a little. And that extra 10% really helps. Can I give anybody a lift?
You need all the Repco you can get.
Save on beautiful diamonds and jewelry and hundreds of name brand items during Brindle's grand opening in Durham. Save on this Norelco rechargeable rotary razor, only $39.96. Or this Norelco rotary razor for only $33.47. And this Texas Instrument desk printer calculator, only $69.90. Or this Texas Instrument programmable calculator, only $199.97. Get bargains like these during Brindle's grand opening, March 7th on Chapel Hill, Durham Boulevard.
Only 2 kinds of hamburgers, dry and chewy, or hot and juicy.
If they only made it juicy, that'd be plenty. But hot and juicy? Wow.
Wendy's hamburgers aren't hot, and they're not juicy. Honest.
At Wendy's, hot and juicy isn't a slogan. Hot and juicy is how we make it.
Wake County Commissioners today postponed action on a controversial plan to change planning laws. Name duplication in the subdivisions is the main concern. Deborah Long has more.
We're here at Springdale Gardens on Springdale Drive in Wake County. And across the road is the Springdale Shops, and just down the road is the Springdale Estates. This area in the western end of the county is an example of the type of duplicate naming that one section of the county code had been designed to eliminate. But a controversy was born last year when Springdale Estate residents filed suit after a developer was allowed to name his nearby Leesville Road subdivision Springdale Gardens. The suit is still pending, but the county commissioners have been considering a proposal to amend the county law to allow similar names. Some 300 Springdale Estates residents opposed to the amendment showed up at a public hearing on the matter today. They charged that duplicate subdivisions and street names take away a community's integrity and confuse emergency service vehicles.
If this amendment is passed as it's being proposed, it's going to create confusion and ill will, because the way in which it's proposed and worded, it begs the question of where does it stop?
Teague and the other opponents of the plan say that confusion would be county-wide instead of just in the Springdale community, and the head of Wake County Emergency Medical Services told the commissioners that duplication can be a problem to his men. The commissioners voted unanimously to delay action on the proposed amendment until after the pending court case is settled. Deborah Long, Channel 11 Eyewitness News in Raleigh.
The Springdale Estates suit is scheduled for court March 14th. Well, 5 of our ACC teams are in postseason tournaments, and Don's going to tell us about that.
Right you are, Bev. And would you believe, Bev and folks, that Duke and Carolina could possibly be playing for a 5th time this season? Well, that's a pretty distinct possibility since both teams are seated in the Eastern Regionals of the NC2A playoffs, and if they each win their next 2 games, will face each other in the Eastern Finals in Greensboro, North Carolina. But first things first, and that's round 1 at Raleigh on Friday, where Temple will play St. John's in the opener, and Iona meets Penn in the second game. On Sunday, Carolina will take on the Iona-Penn winner, and Duke will match up against the winner of the St. John's Temple game. And 3 Atlantic Coast Conference teams were among the 24 clubs invited to play in the NIT tournament. Clemson, Maryland, and Virginia will all play this Wednesday. The Tigers will be at Kentucky, the Terrapins will host Rhode Island, and the Cavaliers will be at home to Northeast Louisiana. North Carolina State had fully expected to get a bid, however they did not. And 3 Tar Heels were picked today for the All-ACC tournament team. Dudley Bradley, Michael Korn, and Dave Colescott, all from the Tar Heels, along with Duke's Jimmy Spinarkle and Mike Jamitsky. And there was plenty of action in yesterday's Carolina 500 at Rockingham as Donnie Allison and Cale Yarborough tangled again.
The Carolina 500 stock car race in Rockingham, North Carolina belonged to one man Sunday, and that was Bobby Allison. The native of Hueytown, Alabama, won by a comfortable margin over runner-up Joe Milliken. Allison had been the pole setter at an average speed in excess of 136 miles an hour. The highlight of the race came early in the 10th lap when 8 cars were involved in an accident on turn 3. The 2 instigators of last month's Daytona 500, Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison, were once again in the center of attention. With Yarborough high and Allison low, the cars touch wheels, sending both into a skid. That triggered 6 others in a chain reaction pilot. 2 of those, Richard Petty and Darrell Waltrip, each thought the mishap may have been Yarborough's fault. But aside from that, it was Bobby Allison's Bud Moore machine that did the trick, and he was happy with the win.
Car handled good, and that kept us out of a lot of the early race problems. I had a couple of spin-outs happen in front of me, and I was able to turn and miss them. And later on in the race, the car just kept driving just good like it usually does, and like we're real proud of it. You know, it did last year. These kind of tracks, our strong point was the handling and the driving of the car. And Bud and the guys have worked real hard on it, and the old Hodgson T-Bird just hung in there all day today.
Next Sunday could be round 3, the Richmond 400. And the spring training baseball exhibition season will begin on Wednesday, but don't look for Major League umpires to be calling the balls and strikes. The 52 Major League men in blue plan to call their own strike.
While the Major League Baseball players continue to report to their respective spring training camps, it's a game of sit and wait for the umpires. On February 2nd, each one of the 52 umpires received a letter from the league presidents. The message was clear. Either sign your contracts or don't go to spring training. And if you don't sign, you may be replaced. President of the Major League Umpires Association, Ron Luciano, said the letter was typical.
I cried first. No, we knew that was going to happen. Our lawyer had told us that, for the first time, our lawyer, Richie Phillips, handled the NBA officials last year during the strike, and so he knows officials. And he told us, you're going to get a letter that's going to say, we're going to replace you permanently. And that's exactly what we got. And so we weren't surprised by it. I was a little hurt that I feel that they can replace Ron Luciano, but I guess they can.
What's the stumbling block for you right now?
Right now we can't talk anything except money. We would like vacations and everything else, but that's in the courts. And until the courts decide what to do with it, the only thing we can argue with is money now. And so I've walked in and I made they offered me $33,000 or $32,500, something like that. And I've asked for $55,000.
Would you put on a blue suit for $55,000?
I bet you I would. Well, I'm going to change it right now.
Okay, man.
Don. Thank you. Cheryl's going to be back with a weather bulletin for us in just a moment.
Some home improvement, Harry?
Yeah, about $3,000 worth.
Termites? I never saw any termites.
Neither did I.
I'm calling Orkin.
Orkin, we're #1. We get the job done. We're Orkin.
Most
people never see termites until the damage is done. But with Orkin's $100,000 guarantee, you're protected.
That's what I call a real home improvement.
Big number one.
Morning. I always take my film to Eckerd Drugs. So I get twice the prints on Kodak paper. Twice the film, twice the guarantee. If Eckerd's makes a bad print, I don't pay for it. And if I take a bad picture, I don't pay for it. That's twice the guarantee you get in most places. Yep.
Eckerd Drugs. Twice the prints, twice the film, and now twice the guarantee.
Want to control many grasses and broadleaves in soybeans grown in light to medium soils? Try a tank mix of Lasso plus Lorax.
Cheryl, you have a weather bulletin just in?
That's right, Bob. Some very severe weather has been moving our way. There's a tornado warning now in effect until 7 p.m. for the counties of Moore, Lee, and Harnett. That's until 7 p.m., and that is a tornado warning. That means a funnel has been sighted. In addition to that, a severe thunderstorm warning is in effect now for the counties of Chatham, Durham, Wake, Alamance, and Montgomery. Those are the counties of Chatham, Durham, Wake, Alamance, and Montgomery. If severe weather threatens, make sure that you take cover immediately. We could have some possible hail, very strong lightning, and heavy rains along with that system. And look out for the funnel clouds as well in those counties that we gave the tornado warnings for, Bob.
Okay, Cheryl, we thank you very much for that warning. There are many secrets hidden in people's closets, but our country rambler Andy Johnston has uncovered some deeper skeletons.
Consider, if you will, Elaine Royt, a veteran secretary for the prestigious Menninger Foundation in Topeka, Kansas. Once or twice a week, she doesn't take a lunch hour.
Yeah. Mom, I'm through with school. Can you come out and play?
Yeah, let's go play.
Okie dokie.
Quietly, they slip away to a third-floor group therapy room for a session. A session of disco.
See, my mom taught me when she started.
When did she start?
I don't know.
You know, my girlfriend and I took disco lessons. And I came home from every lesson and she'd be waiting up for me, even if it was past her bedtime, for me to teach her what I'd learned that night.
Who messes up more, you or your mom?
Well, sometimes sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes my mom doesn't, sometimes she doesn't.
Good answer.
Their secret sessions are just a good example of love. A mother and her daughter sneaking up to the third floor and then boogieing down. In Topeka, Kansas, this is Andy Johnston.
Well, that's Eyewitness News at 6, and despite that all that has happened here, 11 Together is back on the air. And as is our custom, we will be here every night at 6 and 11 with Eyewitness News, continuing to give you the best local news coverage that we can possibly provide. I'm Bob Hughes. For Bev, Don, Cheryl, and the entire Eyewitness News team, we'll see you again tonight at 11 o'clock.
From North Carolina's News Center, this has been Eyewitness News at 6 with Bob Hughes, Beverly Burke, Don Shea, and Cheryl Toney.